Please note, in order to comply with YouTube policy, this free version of the audiobook has bedroom scenes and curse words redacted. If you would like to read the full text, please get the e-book or print version of the story.
Chapter 1 Demi. I've been a luxury yacht stewardess long enough to know the rules. The most important one being, don't get involved with the charter guests. Sure, we chat and flirt with them, but we are supposed to maintain a professional distance. They have hired us to make sure they have an amazing time while on board the ship, and that's exactly what we do. But we're careful not to cross that invisible boundary that separates us from them. We are hired hands working hard and hoping for generous tips. They are the richest of the rich, spending a few days living it up on the water, while we cater to their every whim. There are so many stories of lonely stewardesses falling for a wealthy, powerful primary guest during charter, only to find out that he viewed their torrid love affair as merely a short-term vacation fling. I've heard that tired tale time and again. I understand the rule about not fraternizing with charter guests. I know why it's in place, and I always obey it. Well, almost always. When Gavin Timberbatch boarded the Sea Dreams, the mere sight of him took my breath away. I've seen my fair share of famous movie stars, iconic athletes, and other celebrities. It normally doesn't faze me in the slightest, but one look at that irresistible rock star had me ready to throw the rulebook overboard and become a timber witch. That's what they call his hordes of groupies, timber witches. It's belittling and offensive, but suddenly I want to be one. I'll join any group that allows me to exist in the same orbit with this magnetic man. He has more charisma than any person I've ever met. It's almost like he glows. I'm physically drawn to him, in a way I can't even explain. I'd known he was handsome and talented before meeting him, but seeing him in person rocks my world, literally. My normally steady sea legs fumble beneath me from the mere sight of him. We openly flirt throughout his charter, and I even go to the master suite with him one night. I'm not sure what will happen in there, but I don't care. I'm ready to steal away with him, and I'm prepared to lose my job over it. I've never been this reckless, but I'm completely infatuated with Gavin. We spend hours in his luxurious master cabin talking, laughing, and snuggling. The notorious bad boy doesn't even try to kiss me. It makes me fall even harder for him. My roommate and third stew, Tori, knows I'm spending time alone with Gavin in his cabin. She probably assumes we're having a steamy affair. It's tempting to tell her my relationship with the famous rocker is so much more than that, but if she decides to tell on me to our supervisors, I'll lose my job regardless of how real our feelings are for each other. His charter goes by too quickly, and before I even comprehend what's happening, we're docking and it's time for him to disembark. Even though I've only known him a few days, I'm in love with this man, and I would gladly leave with him if he asks. But he doesn't. He leaves and promises to stay in touch with me. I don't even have to worry for a moment if that's a lie, because he texts me before he leaves the dock. We spend the next several days on the phone, anytime I get a break in my hectic work schedule. When I develop a fever one day, he offers to fly back to Hawaii to take care of me. I insist that I'll be fine, but he remains on the phone line as I lie in bed and doze. Every time I wake up, he's there waiting. I've never felt so cared for or adored. The bug turns out to just be a 24-hour virus, so I get back to work as soon as I begin feeling better. I can't wait to finish out the end of this charter season and show up as a surprise on Gavin's doorstep. I'd leave now, but I committed to work this entire season, and I don't want to leave my coworkers short-handed. We have become a close-knit family over the past several weeks, and I refuse to let them down. After the bomb scare and almost losing Tori and the captain, my first call is to Gavin. I want to rush straight into his arms, but he is oddly distant during our conversation. I can tell he's distracted, but I can't get him to open up to me about what is going on. He convinces me to stay in Hawaii until after the crew wrapped-up party, and promises that everything will be better after that. When the day of the party finally arrives, I pack my few belongings. Almost everything I brought with me this season was destroyed when the yacht exploded. My plan is to head to the airport as soon as this celebration ends. We have a wonderful, relaxing time, celebrating the end of an unbelievably eventful charter season. I smile as I listen to the large table of rowdy crew members. Gavin was right to suggest I stay for this. I needed some closure before moving on to the next stage of my life, with him. It's starting to look like things are breaking up enough for me to make an exit without being rude, when Hannah glares down at her phone. She turns to me to ask,
"Did you already hear the news about our favorite Rockstar charter guest, Gavin Timberbatch?"
The blood drains from my face. I try to keep my voice from emerging too frantic and squeaky when I say, "No, why?" It's obvious from her almost gleeful tone that the woman has no idea how real and strong my feelings are for the musician. It's all I can do not to shake her for answers when she gapes at her phone screen and hints,
"Wow, this is huge. He's for sure going to be cancelled over this."
Chapter 2 Gavin. As a teenager, I struggled to get dates, but as an adult, I've had more than my fair share of luck with the ladies. Ever since I won that nationwide televised singing competition, my life has become a whirlwind of tour dates, screaming fans, and more money and fame than I ever dared to dream of having. Redacted a new woman in my bed in a different city every night was fun for a while, but it's growing tiresome. What I need now is a real relationship with a lady who wants to get to know me, not just someone seeking bragging rights about a hot night of fun between the sheets with a famous rock star. Steamy one-nighters only seem to make the ever-growing void in my chest deepen. The wealthy celebrity lifestyle is what I always dreamed of and thought I wanted, but I'm finding out that it's not fulfilling. Instead, I crave normalcy and true connection. Eventually, I'd like to settle down, but it's probably too soon to be thinking about that. I'm still fairly young, plus I'm extremely sought after due to my wealth and celebrity status. Meaningless flings are a natural part of the wild and crazy life I'm meant to be living right now. At least that's what I keep trying to convince myself. When I finally have a short break in my hectic touring schedule, I decide to take the band, my personal assistant, and my manager on a quick trip to Hawaii. We charter a luxury yacht and plan to make the most of our brief time off. As soon as I walk on board the luxurious ship, I'm drawn to Demi. The other women who work on the ship are gorgeous, but they pale in comparison to Demi. I flash her my notorious, lopsided grin, and receive in return a demure and professional half-smile. The woman is polite and friendly, but it's obvious that she isn't the slightest bit impressed by my fame or fortune. I guess it makes sense, since only super-wealthy guests charter this yacht, but her lack of interest in my flirtation drives me absolutely mad with desire for her. She's the first woman I've met in years who seems just out of reach, and her indifference makes me want her that much more. She's a bit standoffish, as if she views me as any other primary charter guest. When I openly flirt with her, she smiles and goes about her business. She listens to me intently, and she always has something witty or interesting to add to the conversation. But it never goes beyond that to the deep and meaningful connection I crave. The charming woman is impossible for me to read and darn, near irresistible. I find myself thinking about her whenever she goes to the galley or below deck. It's tempting to demand she stay with me at all times, but I know that wouldn't go over well. A couple of the deckhands are young and built. I can't help but wonder if she's involved with one of them. The captain's not a crusty old dude either. I'm sure the confident, powerful man can pull in the ladies. I just hope none of Demi's co-workers or her boss have set their sights on the woman I can't seem to get enough of. The mere idea of her being with someone else makes my fists ball at my sides, even though I have no right to make a claim on her, other than the fact that I want her so much. It doesn't make a lick of sense, but that doesn't stop my heart from hammering in my chest any time she comes near. The blasted woman is wreaking havoc on my nervous system, and we haven't even touched each other. I'm sure the food on the yacht is delicious, but I barely taste any of it because I'm so worried about when Demi is going to come back out to the table, or if her hand will brush mine when she refills my glass. I've never desired anyone this much, especially not someone I haven't even slept with. I'm not sure I like it. Actually, I'm quite certain I don't like it. It's disconcerting to care this much about someone, without having any idea how she truly feels about me. Demi is sweet and attentive to me, but that is her job as a stewardess on this yacht. She would be this kind to anyone who was in my position. In fact, she'll be showering this attention on the yacht's next primary charter guest. The mere idea of it makes my throat gurgle with an unfamiliar sound as jealousy bubbles to the surface. The other stewardesses seem to have picked up on my preference for Demi, because she is the one catering the most to my needs, while the other two work mostly below deck. Or perhaps she requested to be on my service. The thought of her asking to spend more time with me makes my heart swell in my chest. I'm relaxing in the hot tub on the sun deck one evening when Demi brings me a fresh, icy cold beer. After I thank her, she moves to unobtrusively slip away. I hold my hand out to her. "Stay with me?" The request comes out sounding like a question. Demi smiles and sits down on one of the bar chairs that is attached to the hot tub. I take a long pull from my beer, then set it on the ledge next to her, offering, "Take a swig if you like."
I'm on duty.
She reminds me. "I suppose that means you won't climb into this hot tub with me either then." I waggle my brows suggestively, trying to let her know that I'd love for her to take me up on the offer. She tips her head back and lets out a throaty chuckle before answering.
You are correct in that assumption.
Deciding to show some vulnerability, I say over the churning, steamy water, "You're very hard for me to read. If you weren't working, would you join me in here? Or are you just being polite by sitting here with me, since a primary charter guest asked you to?" Her throat bobs as she swallows before answering. The wait seems interminable, but she finally says in a voice that I can barely hear above the bubbling water,
I would join you in there.
The thrill of hearing her utter those simple words is second only to hearing my name announced as the winner of USA Idol. And it might even be better than that. I beam at her to let her know how delighted I am by her wonderful response, but my expression falls when she adds,
But I don't want to just be another one of your bang and bolt groupies.
Her description of my serial one-night stands might be funny if it weren't so accurate. My voice comes out in the same scratchy tone as I used in the opening of my biggest hit, Love Fusion, when I vow, "You won't be." She angles a level-eyed glare in my direction, which clearly says that she won't fall for any of my slick lines. I'm desperate to prove to her that I'm serious about her, and that she's special to me. Even as I'm wondering how I'll have the strength to follow through on it, I promise her, "You have my word as a rock star and a gentleman that I will not touch you during this charter. I just want to spend as much time getting to know you as possible."
Your word as a rock star?
She lifts a single brow as she calls me out on the silly oath. Deciding to fully lean into it, I lift my right hand out of the water and show her my wet palm as I solemnly say, "I swear on the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, that you are safe from being seduced by me on this yacht." She grins down at the wood plank deck as she ponders my words. After looking over her shoulder to confirm that we're alone, she says,
Okay then.
She slips out of her Sea Dreams uniform and reveals her luscious curves covered only by a light, pink lacy bra and panties. My gaze is riveted to her incomparable body as she slides down beside me in the churning hot water. Once she settles in, I glance up at the twinkling stars in the dark night sky and say, "Elvis, give me strength. I'm going to need it."
Chapter 3, Demi. I tip my head back and laugh with abandon at Gavin as he pretends to seek the strength to hold back from touching me from the king himself. This charter guest is surprisingly down to earth, likable, and funny. I'd assumed that he would be a full of himself, pretentious celebrity, but he is proving to be the exact opposite. Truth be told, I want him to touch me, more than I've ever wanted anything, but I instinctively know in my heart that it's not a wise move to let him have his way with me. He's used to women throwing themselves at him, so my reluctance to sleep with him is piquing his interest. Just like the rest of us, he wants what he can't have. Besides, I truly don't want to be another in his long string of meaningless trysts that he forgets almost as soon as it ends. I want more from him than that, but I'm not sure if he's truly capable of offering more. His job means that he travels all the time, and he has temptations beyond compare, with beautiful Timberwitch groupies begging for his attention at every stop. From that first moment in the hot tub until the end of his charter, Gavin and I spend every second we can together, talking, laughing, and getting to know each other. I learn that he misses actually singing without smoke, mirrors, and auto-tune. He's vulnerable with me, and shares that he wonders sometimes who really cares about the man behind the Rockstar. The huge smile that spreads across his face is genuine when he tells me about his older trusty dog, Pringle. He found her abandoned in a ditch when she was just a young puppy, and he was a gawky teenager. The two became fast friends, and she's been by his side ever since. She even goes on tour with him, but he hired someone to stay at his home in Idaho with her for this trip.
I really miss her.
He reveals.
She's one of the only souls in my life who doesn't want or expect anything financial from me. All she cares about is my love and attention.
The handsome man's honest, raw emotions make me fall even harder for him. I truly believe that I would be interested in him, even if he was singing on a street corner to make ends meet, but I don't know how to prove that to him. Our time together is beyond precious, and I'm willing to risk anything for it, even my job. My roommate, Tori, is the only person that knows for sure about my illicit romance with our charter guest. I don't think she'll say anything to Hannah or the captain, but she and I have had our differences, so I'm not sure. In any case, it's worth losing the job I love to spend quality time with Gavin. He keeps his word, and is a total gentleman, even when I spend the night in the master suite with him. We use the time together in his cabin, getting to know each other on a deeper level. He holds me in his arms, but he never once even tries to kiss me, despite how much I secretly want him to. Sleep must eventually find us, because I awake with a start when I realize the sun is streaking across the suite's plush carpeting. Gavin teases me about my loud snoring, which I already knew about, due to the many cabin mates I've had in my years as a stewardess. They've all complained about my raise the roof snoring. Sorry, I mutter as I scurry for the door. He grabs my hand to stop me before saying sweetly,
It's just one more adorable, unexpected, and lovable thing about you.
How am I supposed to resist a man who even likes my snoring? It's an impossible task. His charter comes to an end too soon. I'd been afraid that this would mean the end of our blossoming relationship, but instead, we start texting and video chatting during every spare moment. I've been counting the days until the end of this charter season, so I can go join him in Idaho and see if this relationship is as strong as we believe it to be. Mobster drama and a huge scare on the final charter make the end of season crew wrap-up party super emotional. I'm glad I stayed for it, but I can't wait to run into Gavin's open arms. When Hannah hints that he's been involved in some scandal and is likely to be cancelled, it's all I can do not to scream at her for answers. When she finally turns her phone screen around so I can read it, I struggle to make sense of the entertainment news site's headline. Processing out loud, my voice is filled with disbelief when I say, someone is accusing Gavin of sensual assault? My Gavin?
Chapter 4 Gavin. This sensual assault charge may mean the end of my career. I didn't do it, of course. I always get consent before touching. But even a hint of a scandal like this has the potential to destroy my career. I'm known for being the bad boy of rock and roll. My reputation is widespread as the love 'em and leave 'em type, but my fans will not stand by my side if they believe me to be a sensual predator, nor would I expect them to. As much as the thought of being cancelled scares me, it's nothing compared to the terror that makes my heart race as I wonder if this will cause problems in my relationship with Demi. Even though it's only been a short period of time, she is what matters most to me. I can handle losing anything, as long as she stays lovingly by my side. It really doesn't make any sense since I haven't even slept with her yet, but it's truly how I feel. She's everything to me, and I plan to tell her that at my first opportunity. As soon as the story breaks, I try to reach out to her, but she ignores the call. I'm terrified that she's already heard and made wrongful assumptions about the truth in this unfounded claim. Until I remember she said she'd be unavailable during her cruise season wrap-up party. After glancing at my watch and calculating the time difference, I realize that's most likely why she didn't answer. I leave her a voicemail, asking her to call me as soon as she can. My hope is that I'll be able to tell her about the lawsuit before she hears about it on the news. The entertainment sites aren't painting a very flattering picture of me as a wild party boy who occasionally takes things too far. I'd always been concerned that my carousing might someday catch up with me, but this is so much worse than I ever imagined. My phone is ringing and buzzing non-stop, but I don't want to silence it or turn it off because then I might miss Demi's return call. When someone buzzes at the gate to be let into my estate, I run to the speaker. Even though I know it's too soon for Demi to be here, I can't help the rush of excitement that it could be her and the subsequent disappointment when I hear that it's not. Before I even know what is happening, my lawyer, manager, publicist, assistant, and band members are assembled in my living room, yelling back and forth at each other about the best way to handle damage control on this already out-of-control story. The rumors are spreading like wildfire, so we need to swiftly make an official statement and denial. No one has bothered to ask me if the woman's claims are true. They only seem concerned with squelching the story, as well as the fallout from it. They go round and round for hours. Eventually, I tire of hearing them bicker. It's my career, so I need to figure out how best to handle this. The only opinion I truly care to hear is Demi's. Even though this isn't in her wheelhouse, I have no doubt that the brilliant practical woman will know precisely what to do. I lift my fingers to my lips to let out a piercing whistle. Everyone immediately silences. After listening to them fight for so long over my career, the stillness is glorious. Beyond done with them all, I point to the front door and say, "All of you get out." Someone starts.
But
I quickly put an end to that objection by yelling, "Now." They must hear the frustration and anger in my tone, because they all quickly comply. Once my house is empty, Pringle lopes over to get a head rub. As I'm scratching the dog's silky black ears, I glance at my phone screen and realize that I missed Demi's return call. She didn't leave a voicemail. Darn it, I mutter, beyond frustrated with the entire situation. I scroll through my numerous unread messages and am thrilled to see Demi's name on the list. Her text reads simply,
Party's over. Saw the news. Boarding plane to Idaho now.
It's impossible to read her tone from that text. I have no idea if she is upset, so I focus on the one bit of good news I've received on this dreadful day. Demi is on her way to see me.
Chapter 5 Demi. I don't know what to expect when I land. Instead of allowing myself to get worked up with worry, I decide to head straight to Gavin's ranch. He usually keeps strange hours, but he's likely awake and stressed. Even if he's not up, my hope is that he'll be thrilled to see me. The countryside looks beautiful in Gavin's home state. I try my best to look around, as the car service driver takes me to the Rockstar's address. The only thing I know about Idaho is that it's known for growing terrific potatoes. I guess I'm in the right place, since French fries are my absolute favorite food. I'm excited to explore the area, but one thing is already certain. This does not look like the Lux playground I would have expected one of the biggest rock stars in the world to occupy. The natural beauty of the landscape is about as far as can be from the glitzy Hollywood lifestyle so many celebrities prefer. My driver pulls up so I can reach the gate's touchpad from the open window of the car's backseat. It's difficult to ring the buzzer because my hand is shaking so much. I try to tell myself that he'll be delighted that I'm here, but texting and talking regularly are different than me showing up in person at his home. Almost immediately, Gavin's voice comes through the speaker.
Demi?
Relief surges through me at his hopeful tone. Yes, it's me. I assure him. The automatic gate rolls open, so the driver eases the car through. He lets out a low whistle at the sight of the sprawling mansion, before delivering me to the front door. Gavin flings the huge door open wide. His gaze lights up at the sight of me, like he's just discovered free bacon on his cheeseburger. I drop my bag on the tiled entryway floor, then rush into his arms. After raising an arm to wave goodbye to the driver, the man is quickly forgotten, as I savor the feeling of being back in Gavin's embrace. After closing the door, he whispers near my ear.
"I'm so glad you're here. I've missed you so much."
"I've missed you too," I say. Needing to make sure he knows where I stand, I assure him, "I know in my heart that you didn't assault anyone." He pulls back to gaze down into my eyes. The loving look he's giving me makes me feel like I might melt on the spot.
"It means so much to have you believe in me. I can handle having the whole world turning their backs on me, as long as I have you on my side."
His voice is filled with emotion as he beams down at me.
"You and Pringle are the ones who truly matter,"
he says as the dog walks toward me. I bend down to greet the sweet animal, which makes her tail flap rapidly. Once she's had her fill of me scratching her soft ears, she heads over to a giant fluffy dog bed by the door and flops down with a great huff. Awkwardness threatens to take over, until Gavin asks,
"Want to see the rest of my house?"
"Absolutely," I answer. Deciding I shouldn't leave my bag on the floor in the entryway, I stoop to pick it up. Gavin gallantly takes it from me and slings it over his shoulder. I beam up at him before saying, "A celebrity and a thoughtful gentleman? You're full of surprises."
"Just wait,"
he hints, before waggling his thick eyebrows suggestively at me. Even that mild bit of flirtation has my redacted with anticipation over the pleasures that are yet to come with this man, hopefully soon. His home is just as high-line and luxurious as the mega yachts I work on. I guess it's to be expected for an A-list celebrity, but Gavin seems so down to earth, it's easy to forget that he's a world-renowned musician. When we reach his enormous bedroom suite, I'm swept away as I explore the expansive space. His closet is at least 3 times the size of the entire cabin I shared with Tori on the yacht. He has an impressive selection of denim, leather, and boots, but I can't help noticing that there is plenty of space available. I could give up my small apartment and move right in here. There is ample room for all of my belongings. It's so easy to envision, and the mere idea of it makes a thrilling chill tingle along my spine. He seems excited to show me the bathroom, so I follow him into the marble-tiled expanse. I gasp at the sight of the beautiful freestanding clawfoot tub. It's easily the most glamorous bathroom I've ever been in, and I've been in some impressive ones while yachting. "I could live in here," I tease him as I turn in a circle, taking in the gorgeous space.
"But why would you, when you can live in the entire house?"
he asks. The implied offer makes my heart hammer in my chest. I'd been hoping he views this relationship with the same long-term, serious commitment that I do, but I haven't felt sure until this moment that I'm not just a conquest who will quickly be forgotten after we finally hook up. He takes my hand and leads me back into his bedroom. Even that simple touch electrifies my entire arm. We stand close together, facing each other beside his enormous bed. He lifts his palms to cup my face as if I am the most precious gift in the entire world. His voice is husky when he says,
"I promised I wouldn't touch you during the yacht charter."
"And you kept that promise, but the charter season is over. I'm no longer a stewardess, and you're no longer my primary charter guest." He nods as he looks solemnly into my eyes, as if he can see directly into my soul. "We are free to do as we please," I whisper before tipping up onto my toes and brushing my lips across his. His fingers rake through my hair as he murmurs,
"Finally."
He deepens the kiss, and we quickly become completely lost in each other.
Chapter 6, Gavin. Kissing Demi is different than anything I've ever experienced. It's meaningful and life-affirming. I've never had so much roiling emotion from just a simple meeting of the lips. I sweep my tongue inside her mouth and groan at the immense pleasure that surges through my system. This woman is irresistible, and I'm done trying to hold back from loving her. For the first time in my life, I want to give someone else all of me. Proving we are completely in sync, our bodies both kick into overdrive. Our hands redacted. Our lips separate just long enough to redacted. Then our mouths crash back together as if our kissing is as vital to our existence as oxygen. Once I have Demi redacted, I step back to take a long, luxurious look at her. My lips fall open as I sweep my gaze up and down her luscious, curvy form. Her skin is creamy and pale, despite her time spent in Hawaii, likely due to her job requiring her to be inside the vast majority of the time. The woman fills out her redacted better than anyone. She is simply perfection. Pings of excitement race along my spine as she reaches back to redacted. She takes her time sliding the redacted. When she redacted, I swallow audibly. My blood nearly reaches its boiling point as I gaze at her, desperate to make her mine. Unable to hold back any longer, I step forward to bridge the distance between us. She leans forward, pressing her redacted. When she redacted savoring this magnetic pull toward each other. I've never wanted anyone this much, I reveal to her in a scratchy whisper, before tipping down to press soft kisses down her neck and along her shoulder.
Me neither,
she assures me as she reaches back and redacted. Her words and matching action add lighter fluid to the flame burning a line from deep in my chest all the way down to my redacted. Redacted. When the need to redacted becomes too much, I order her in a husky tone, redacted. She moves to comply, but first she redacted. Once she's situated, she redacted. I watch mesmerized as she redacted. Her palm slides redacted. I redacted. I don't ever want it to end, yet I'm desperate to join in the fun. When she opens her eyes, she gazes at my redacted. She makes eye contact with me, and gives me an undeniable come-hither look. Her silent offering of her redacted is an absolutely irresistible invitation. I don't hesitate for a moment before joining her on the bed. When I nudge her hand with my cheek, she immediately moves it out of the way. With the path clear, I use my hands to redacted. Redacted. A redacted sound emerges from my throat just before I redacted. Her redacted. It doesn't take long for her to begin redacted. My plan is to drive her absolutely wild to the point that she never wants another man ever again. I intend to make her mine and only mine. It's the first time I've ever wanted a woman to come back for more, and the realization that this is real makes me that much more frantic to completely rock her world. Her legs redacted. I look up just in time to see her redacted. She redacted. Redacted.
That isn't the first time I've had a redacted while thinking about you.
She whispers the impossibly hot words, then asks, "Have you ever thought about me while you redacted?" Redacted. Almost daily since we met, I reveal as I redacted. Redacted. I love how she gives herself completely to me, with no inhibitions and nothing held back. Almost too late, I remember to be responsible. She whimpers when I pull away and lean over to my bedside table. I make quick work of redacted. I remain frozen for a long moment, savoring this time of sweet anticipation. Demi reaches back to redacted. She whispers,
"Make me yours."
My willpower evaporates with those hot words. I redacted. Redacted. I gaze down at her, blown away by the intensity of my feelings in this moment. She redacted. Soon I'm lost in her as I begin redacted. We redacted. Hoping to make her redacted, I redacted. She redacted. I'm quite certain there's no better view in the world than seeing the woman of my dreams redacted. When I reach out to redacted, the world goes hazy as her redacted. Redacted. She flops down redacted. I quickly redacted. After a long moment, she says,
"That was easily the best redacted of my life."
"Mine too," I respond, fully meaning it. When I kiss her temple, she sighs and allows her weight to fully sink down onto me. Normally, this would be when I would start planning my escape, but I have no desire to get away from Demi. Having her only made me want more of her. Her obnoxious snoring starts almost immediately. I try to contain my chuckling, so I don't jostle her too much. The irresistible woman snores louder than a freight train, and somehow the ridiculous sound is the best thing I've ever heard. I want to listen to it every time I sleep for the rest of my life. I eventually managed to fall asleep. Despite the significant turmoil with my career, I have one of the most restorative rests of my entire life. It's as if my body has found its place with Demi, and I'm able to fully relax for the first time in longer than I can remember.
Chapter 7, Demi. I sleep like the dead after my phenomenal time with Gavin. The Rockstar's reputation for being a stud in the bedroom is clearly well-deserved. I just hope he shares that portion of his talents with me, and only me, going forward. It might be too soon to have the exclusivity discussion with him. The last thing I want to do is scare him away, but I already know that he's the only one I want to be with from now on. This feels so right to me. I just hope he feels it too. We evidently shifted in our sleep. He currently has a leg sprawled across me as if he owns me. Normally, such a possessive gesture would bother me, but with Gavin, I like it. I want him to claim me as his, in every way possible. He stirs, so I trail my hand down his chest. When I redacted, he redacted. His redacted. Unable to ignore it, I begin exploring redacted. When Gavin gasps for air, I make eye contact with him. The soft, dreamy look he gives me is addictive. I would gladly redacted every single day for that warm, loving gaze.
I can't reach you,
he murmurs in a low voice. Since I know exactly what he's talking about, I don't play coy. Instead, I slide up beside him and redacted. We are lying face to face when he redacted. Because I'm with you, I whisper near his ear. He emits a deep groan at this revelation, before reaching over to redacted. After he redacted, my eyes fall shut at the delicious sensations he's creating deep within my body.
Look at me,
he demands, as he redacted. I force my eyes open. We maintain eye contact as he redacted. Our redacted this time is less frantic, but it's every bit as intense as we lock gazes and claim each other. I redacted. Sweet pleasure ignites every cell of my body as the pressure releases, and I redacted. He redacted. We spend hours slumbering redacted. This time when I awaken, Gavin is staring at his phone screen. His face has gone completely pale. What's wrong? I ask, curious what more could possibly have happened. His voice sounds far away when he answers.
3 more women have come forward claiming that I sensually assaulted them.
The wind leaves my lungs as I absorb the full meaning of this. Eventually I say, this won't do. Gavin seems to be in complete shock as I scramble to get up and dress. He stares at the wall as if he's in a trance. Rather than disturb him, I quietly slip out of his room and call for a car.
Chapter 8, Gavin. I can't believe I've lost her. After just a taste of how wonderful our lives could be together, Demi left. She is so appalled by the accusations rolling in against me that she scurried out of here without even saying goodbye. People claim it's better to have loved and lost, but I don't see how that can possibly be true. Knowing the amount of bliss I'm missing out on is so much worse than being clueless about how phenomenal life can be with the right woman by my side and in my bed. I'd been so stunned by the news that more women are coming forward with claims against me that I hadn't even tried to defend myself to Demi. She was gone before it truly even registered in my mind that she was leaving. Now, I'm at a loss for what to do. I long to reach out to her, but I don't know what to say. I need to find a way to make her believe in my innocence, but from the way she hightailed it out of here, it's obvious that she thinks I committed these crimes. After the tender, passionate time we spent together, it really hurts to realize that she believes I could be capable of hurting a woman. I want her to know in her heart that I would never do such a thing, but I guess blind faith is too much to expect. My team keeps trying to contact me, but I don't have the energy to deal with this right now. I'm not even that worried about my career. I used to believe it was the most important thing in the world to me, but now, all that matters is Demi and making things right with her. Even though I'm not sure what to say in my defense, I try to call her. When she fails to pick up, I leave a voicemail message asking her to call me. I mope around and snuggle with Pringle. It's almost as if the loving dog senses my sadness because she's more glued to my side than usual. I can't even use the bathroom without her. Normally that would be a bit too much togetherness for me, but right now, her unconditional love and acceptance is exactly what I need. After I wander into the living room, I turn on the television. The entertainment shows are buzzing with the news of the mounting accusations against me. It must be a slow news cycle, because I seem to be the top story on every station. Deciding that watching this is doing nothing to quell my anxiety, I shut off the TV and head to the kitchen. I stare blankly into the fridge, but nothing sounds appetizing. I doubt my stomach could handle much right now anyway. Unsure what else to do, I sit down and begin scrolling through my notifications on my phone. The touring company that sponsors my concerts and my record label have both already dropped me. Even the Timberwitches, my most raving fans, are starting to turn on me. Apparently, that whole innocent until proven guilty tenet doesn't apply to rock stars. My publicist has been working overtime to try to gain control of the narrative of this story, but the bad press has already taken on legs of its own. The rumors are spreading like wildfire, and I have no idea how to contain them. A denial or apology would only make me look more guilty, but ignoring it is obviously not working. I just want to crawl into a hole and hide. It would be much easier to deal with all of this if Demi was still here with me. I can handle losing anything with her by my side, but without her, nothing matters. Unsure what else to do, I flop down on the couch. Pringle climbs up beside me and promptly falls asleep. The dog's warmth is comforting, even though her snoring is loud. Neither her reassuring heat nor her snores compare to Demi's. Darn, I miss that woman.
Chapter 9 Demi. These charges against Gavin are ridiculous. I know it in my heart. Normally, I am the first to believe the victim of a crime, but the idea of Gavin being a sensual predator simply won't click in my mind. It isn't possible. It can't be. All I can think about when I hear the news that more women are coming forward is that I need to find a way to fix this. Even though I don't have a fully formed plan, I hurry out of Gavin's home, intent on figuring out a way to make this better for him. Everyone has been cursing the LifeChat data breach that leaked so much personal information about all of us, but for the first time, I'm thankful for the easy access it provides to any private details a person is willing to pay for. Within minutes of my request, hackers send me the names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, and social media handles of the women accusing Gavin. I need to approach them delicately because I don't want to tip them off or scare them away. My best bet is to cozy up to them as if I am on their side. Although I don't want to make things any worse for Gavin or his team, the only way I can think of to make sure these women trust me is to make an accusation of my own against the Rockstar. It kills me to add to his problems in any way, but hopefully this will work in the long run and make everything better for him. I reach out to the women online, claiming to be a fellow victim of Gavin's unwanted advances. They immediately suggest that I take my accusations to the press, but I tell them that I am concerned about going public because of my family's strict religious beliefs. They seem leery of trusting me, until I reveal that my father will kill me if he finds out that I'm not a virgin. That tidbit is true. Well, he wouldn't kill me, but he certainly wouldn't like it. Dad and I have one of those don't ask, don't tell policies in place that seems to work well for our relationship. He prefers to think of me as his innocent little girl, and I don't mind pretending to be one to keep him happy. The overprotective family card works wonders with Gavin's original accuser, Stasia. She warms up to me after that revelation and tells me the group is planning an in-person meet-up tomorrow night in Chicago. I lie and say that I'm in northern Indiana in order to wrangle an invite to that get-together. The fibs seem to emerge easily as I work to find a way to help Gavin. As soon as I secure the invitation, I sign off the chat because I don't want to risk saying anything to give away where my true loyalties lie. Nervous and excited, I book the next flight to Chicago. After arriving at the busy restaurant, it quickly becomes obvious that the ladies in the group are friendly and bubbly. If I didn't know the truth about them, I would never believe they were wrongly accusing my favorite person of abusing them. I find myself almost wavering in my belief that Gavin is innocent of the crimes these women are accusing him of. While I don't want to believe he is capable of hurting anyone, it's also difficult to imagine these lovely women lying for financial gain or fame. They simply don't seem like the types. Deciding there is only one way to find out the truth, I join in their conversation with my own story of Gavin preying on me. The words nearly clog my throat as I try to make the lies sound believable. I talk about my time with Gavin, but instead of describing the passionate embraces and tender touches, I force tears to emerge as I claim that he held me down and wouldn't let me go. The lies feel awful, even as they're falling from my mouth, but I don't know how else to make these women trust me. Once my story is finished, Stasia says to the group at large,
"Got it."
After tapping a few buttons on her phone screen, she says,
"And send."
"What sent?" I ask her, even as the panic causes bile to rise in my throat.
"I recorded a video with my phone hidden under the table, and I just sent it to my social media coordinator. She'll make sure it goes viral and gets picked up by the major news outlets. Your story needs to be told."
She pats my hand as if she's doing me a big favor. "No?" I screech a little too loudly, even for the crowded bar. Attempting to temper my tone, I say, "My family?"
"It's going to be okay,"
Stasia assures me. I yank my hand away, thinking that this fiasco is about as far as can be from okay.
Chapter 10 Gavin. Another one came forward. I ask in a monotone voice. At this point, nothing can surprise me. This horrific nightmare just keeps churning and worsening, and I don't know how to make my way out of it. I wish someone would shake me awake. I'm barely listening to my manager on the phone until he says my newest accuser's name. My entire body goes numb as I croak out the single word, "Demi?" He confirms before droning on and on about the specific details that have been shared on a video recording. I'm barely able to understand his words because the blood is pounding so hard in my ears. My Demi. This can't be true. She wouldn't do this to me. Our time together was magical. The mere idea of her turning our experience into a story to sell makes my stomach churn. Plenty of people have used me for their 15 minutes of fame or a quick payday, but it's impossible to imagine Demi doing this. It's not just that I don't want to think she is capable of doing this to me. I literally cannot believe it's true. It doesn't add up. Demi is the one for me. I'd been so sure of it. I'd have been willing to bet my life on it. This level of betrayal is completely incomprehensible. My mind simply won't accept it as truth. I may as well just give up and let them haul me off to jail, if this is truly what my life has devolved into. It isn't simply a matter of me being a poor judge of character. It's a total obliteration of everything I thought to be true. Now, I don't know who or what to believe in. Apparently, I can't trust anyone except Pringle. Actually, there is one other person in the world whom I know will always have my back, no matter what, my older brother Graham. Graham is the exact opposite of me in every way imaginable. He's calm, quiet, and reserved. Plus, he's perfectly content to live the rest of his life in the small town in Illinois, where he runs a quaint inn. He always thought it was a colossally bad idea for me to chase my dream of becoming famous, But that didn't stop him from being my biggest supporter when I was on USA Idol. He's truly proud of my accomplishments that have come from following my wild and crazy dreams, even if he questions the wisdom of my decision to become a household name. Suddenly, I'm wondering if he's been right all along about that. It's no fun having everyone talking about you when they're sharing hurtful, shameful lies about you. I'm aware of the old adage about there being no such thing as bad publicity, but I'm starting to realize that there actually is bad publicity, and it feels awful. Graham answers my call on the first ring.
Hey bud. You doing okay? I saw the news but figured I'd wait until you were ready to talk rather than bothering you.
Just hearing Graham's low, calm voice is soothing. The man is absolutely unflappable, and that's precisely the kind of energy I need around me right now, when everyone else I know is on the verge of panic. I'm fine, I lie. Graham remains silent on the line, obviously not believing me for a moment. When it becomes too much, I let out a whoosh of air before revealing in a flurry of words, "Actually, I'm not fine. I'm not fine at all. This is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. I thought I was in love, but she turned on me, and I really didn't do any of this. I would never hurt a woman."
I know,
he says simply, never doubting me for a moment. I close my eyes and let his unconditional support wash over me. Most of the world assumes I'm guilty. My team doesn't seem to care if I'm guilty or not. They just want to gain control of the story, so they don't lose their gravy train. "Thanks, man," I say sincerely. "You don't know how much your unwavering support means to me."
Well, our parents didn't do much right by us, but they gave us each other.
He reminds me. "You got that right," I agree. Still sounding unhurried, Graham says,
I have some people waiting at the front desk for me, so I should go. But feel free to call me back anytime.
Glancing at my watch, I realize I managed to call him right at one of his busiest times during the day. Silently cursing myself for not being more considerate, I say, "Oh, of course. Thanks for being here for me, and for talking me down off the ledge."
Anytime, bud,
he says before hanging up. Feeling better after my chat with my brother, I pick up the remote to turn on the television. The breath leaves my lungs when I see Demi's face on the screen, partially obscured by a table, but still beautiful. I ache to reach out to her, and don't want to believe my own ears when I hear the teary-eyed woman of my dreams say,
Gavin held me down and took advantage of me. I tried to fight him off, but he wouldn't let me go.
With those malicious words, what was left of my world comes crashing down around me.
Chapter 11, Demi. This is bad. It's worse than bad. My entire plan backfired, and now I'm making things even worse for Gavin. This is the absolute last thing I wanted to happen. I glare at my image on the television screen as my likeness spews her vicious lies. Why had I trusted Stasia and her friends? I should have known better than to believe I could outwit the scheming women. Instead, I played right into their hands. Determined to make this right, I reach out to the girls on the group chat. Hoping to strike the right tone, I type, "I'm feeling guilty about doing this to Gavin. Are any of you?" I hold my breath when the dots bounce, indicating that someone is typing a response. Hope soars in my chest when Liza, the woman with the kind brown eyes, answers, "Yes, I don't feel right about this at all." Stasia immediately fires back, "Gavin is getting exactly what he deserves. He takes advantage of women, and moves on without giving us a second thought. He needs to be stopped." She sounds more like a bitter one-night stand than a victim of a crime, and my hunch is that is precisely the case. "He doesn't deserve all of this," Amanda the redhead weighs in. I feel like cheering. In person they had all seemed like they were fully on Stasia's side, but now it's starting to sound like some of them may be having second thoughts. Deciding this is no time for subtlety, I say, "I'm taking back my statement." "What?" "No, you can't. That would diminish the credibility of all of us," Stasia tells me. "I can't do this. It's not right. I lied about what happened with Gavin. He didn't hold me down or force me to do anything. I wanted to be with him. My finger hovers over the send button as I stare at the words and hope they do the trick to convince the others to be honest. Squeezing my eyes closed, I press the button. We have you on camera stating otherwise, Stasia reminds me. At almost the same time, a message comes in from Liza. I lied too, and I feel terrible about it. This is so much worse than I ever imagined. I didn't think it all the way through before I agreed to join you in these accusations. They are practically crucifying Gavin online. Air whooshes out of my lungs as I realize things might actually be starting to turn in the right direction. I was with Gavin willingly. I thought I was special to him, but when he moved to the next city on his concert tour and didn't ever bother to reach out to me, I realized I was just one in a long string of flings. The admission from Liza is a relief because it proves Gavin's innocence in at least one of the accusations against him, but it also makes my stomach churn as I wonder if I might just be another of his meaningless dalliances. Being with him felt like so much more to me than that, but Liza obviously thought she mattered to him too, until she realized how quickly he moved on from her without ever looking back. A message from Amanda pops up on my screen. I'm recanting my statement too. As much as I thought I wanted to get even with Gavin for hurting me, I can't do this. I won't. No, we had an agreement. Stasia fires back. My heart soars at this admission from the ringleader of the group. This agreement may be the key to proving that all of these accusations are false. Even if Gavin does end up breaking my heart, I care about him too much to allow these lies to take him down and ruin his life. We agreed to lie to give your story more credibility and to get a quick payday, but it isn't worth it to me. My conscience can't handle it. This isn't the kind of person I want to be. I'm going public with the truth, Liza responds. I feel like hugging Liza for doing what's right, even if it is a bit late. No one will believe you. It's your word against the rest of us. You're just going to end up making yourself look like a greedy liar, Stasia tries. Her bullying tactics seem to backfire because Amanda immediately types, I'm telling the truth too. We haven't yet heard from Hazel, but it's obvious that Stasia's plan is unraveling when she begs, please don't do this to me. We're simply telling the truth. It isn't anything against you. It's just us doing what is right, and not punishing Gavin for crimes that he didn't commit, Amanda says. No one will believe you, Stasia tries again. Her last-ditch effort fails when Amanda responds, they won't have any choice but to believe me once I show them the screenshots of all of our conversations. This is over, Stasia. I leap off my hotel room's bed and do an out-of-character fist pump. Once my party, for one, dies down, I begin throwing items into my suitcase. It's time for me to go see Gavin and find out if I mean even a fraction as much to him as he means to me.
Chapter 12, Gavin. I told my housekeeper, Gertie, that I didn't want any visitors, but she evidently let someone through the gate and inside the house anyway. The incessant pounding on my bedroom door is enough to drive me batty, even if I wasn't already on the cusp of a complete mental breakdown. Although I do my best to ignore it, the person on the other side of the threshold is remarkably persistent. Deciding it's probably a nosy reporter who has somehow managed to sneak inside my fortress, I roll over in my bed and cover my ears with a pillow. A crack of light filters into my dark bedroom as the pushy person opens my door and peeks inside.
Gavin?
I easily recognize Demi's voice, even though it's muffled through my pillow. I long to believe that she's here to apologize for lying about our relationship, but I'm not sure if I can bring myself to forgive her. I trusted her and opened up my heart to her in a way that was completely unfamiliar to me. I've never been as vulnerable with anyone as I have been with Demi, and she used it against me by betraying me and lying about our magical time together. The mattress sinks down slightly when she sits beside me in the darkened room. I pointedly ignore her, even though my heart aches to reach out to her. She rubs her warm hand along my back. Despite how angry I am with her, the blasted woman's touch feels phenomenal. My body is electrified by her, even though my heart and mind are shouting that she's dangerous and should be avoided.
I've been trying to fix this messy scandal, but the darn entertainment news outlets only seem to want to carry sensationalist stories. Anything that will repair your wrongfully damaged reputation is only given a quick blip in the news cycle.
She picks the remote control up from my bedside table and clicks on the enormous television on the wall across from my bed. The colors from the screen are muted blues, but they still make me squint, since I've been wallowing in here for so long with the blackout curtains closed. After finding a station with an entertainment program airing, she turns back to me.
The accusations against you are falling apart. I convinced 2 of the women to withdraw their false claims, and they have both agreed to join me in sharing screenshots and other evidence that helps prove your innocence in all of these accusations.
I remain quiet as I process this news.
Stasia is determined to take you down, but I think we have more than enough proof to show that she's just a bitter ex-lover, rather than anyone who was abused by you. We have already blasted the news outlets with the truth, but we can share everything with your lawyers, if the legal case against you hasn't already been dropped.
Part of me knows that I should be thrilled with these developments. Damage has already been done to my career and reputation, but hopefully, this will help repair some of it. Unfortunately, all I can focus on is Demi's role in all of this. I'm glad she had an apparent change of heart, but it's still devastating that she even considered accusing me of harming her. I would never do anything to hurt her, ever. Why did you do it? My voice comes out as barely more than a whisper, but she must hear me because she says,
"Oh, Gavin. I was hoping to befriend your accusers, so I could get some evidence that they were lying. But my plan completely backfired. The only way I could earn their trust was to spew the same kind of lies as they were. I had no idea Stasia was filming me when I said all those awful things about you. I'm so sorry that I ended up making things worse instead of better."
I turn to face her then. Her expression is filled with sincerity. You didn't turn on me, hoping for fame or a quick payout? I'm almost afraid to hope she's telling the truth, but I can't bring myself to believe she's lying. Hurt overtakes her features as she shakes her head.
"No, of course not. I could never do that to you. I love you, Gavin Timberbatch."
Actually, my last name is just Timber. Timberbatch is a stage name. I reveal to her.
"Oh, I had no idea."
She murmurs, sounding a bit dumbfounded. Only those people closest to me know the truth, I tell her.
"Does the fact that you told me about your real name mean that you forgive me?"
She asks, leaning in. I do, I confirm. I could never stay mad at you. Besides, you were secretly on my side and trying to help me the entire time. I love you, Demi Evans. She tips down to press her soft lips against mine. When she pulls back, I let the words that are filling my heart roll off my tongue. What would you think about becoming Demi Timber one of these days?
"I think that would be absolutely magnificent,"
she answers huskily, before kissing me and making all of my wildest dreams come true.
Epilogue, Demi. I would have never imagined that the scandal of being falsely accused of assault would end up bringing so many wonderful changes to Gavin's career. Since his record label was so quick to turn on him, he refused to go back to them when they came crawling back after the truth emerged. Now, he has signed with a smaller company that gives him creative control over his music. The over-edited, auto-tuned songs he used to release are long gone. Now, he has gone back to his musical roots with his career. He writes and sings authentic songs that showcase his phenomenal talent and vocal range. He still has plenty of raving fans, but they are a more mature and refined group, who mostly refuse to be referred to as timber witches. His reputation as a playboy evaporated almost overnight, and most of Gavin's fans accept me as his significant other. He makes it perfectly clear at his intimate concerts, which are a far cry from the loud stadium spectacles he used to put on, that I am the woman of his dreams. In fact, he always saves me the best seat in the house, and serenades me with a love song during each show. I can't imagine ever tiring of watching the naturally talented man perform. Pringle is the only one who receives nearly as much special treatment as I do. She holds her head high when he trots her out on stage. The dog is absolutely adorable, and Gavin's fans go wild for her. She's becoming almost as big of a star as he is. In fact, she has her own social media accounts and a special handler for when we're on tour. I just hope the fame doesn't go to her head. Gavin works incredibly hard, but he loves even harder. Yum. The two of us remain as insatiable for each other as we were when we first met. I keep thinking our explosive passion might eventually wane, but instead, it gets more intense with each passing day. We seriously can't keep our hands off each other, nor do we want to. We are currently on an extended break from touring. Gavin made plans for us today to explore the Idaho countryside on his massive ranch with a couple of four-wheelers. After several hours of riding the trails, I am filthy and exhausted. When we pull over near a large shade tree, Gavin sets out the picnic lunch that his housekeeper Gertie packed for us. I devour my thick ham and turkey sandwich like a starving person. As I'm munching on some crunchy deli chips, I say to Gavin between bites, "You know, when you promised me a day of hot, dirty fun, I didn't realize you were being quite so literal." He tips his head back and laughs. After his chuckles subside, he asks in a husky tone,
"Did you have something else in mind?"
After looking around to make sure we're completely alone, I redacted as I say, "I did." He beams up at me, before saying,
"I'm not just a boy toy. You're going to need to court me a little first."
"Is that so?" I raise a single eyebrow in his direction before redacted. He groans before murmuring,
"Consider me properly wooed."
With that, he lifts a palm to my cheek, before redacted and completely rocking my world. "What's my surprise?" I ask, barely able to contain my bubbling excitement.
"The first one is in the kitchen."
He hints. Unable to wait a moment longer, I lunge out of the bed where we just enjoyed a little late afternoon delight, and race down the steps toward the executive kitchen. I'm surprised to see a distinguished-looking man in a chef's uniform. "Oh hi," I say, sounding as surprised as I feel to see him. Gavin walks up behind me, so I ask, "You hired a personal chef to cook us a meal?"
"I did."
He answers, sounding overly proud of himself. I try to look enthusiastic, despite my disappointment in this surprise. I ate plenty of fancy cuisine during my yachting days, and it's just not my thing. Granted, the crew meals were nothing compared to the guests' food, but we were often served the leftovers from the charter guests. I have a simple palate, and would prefer a cheeseburger and fries over foie gras any day.
We have a tasting menu of various French fry variations that have been made with organic Idaho potatoes.
Chef reveals. I beam, delighted by this news, as we walk over to the kitchen island to get a better look. The chef makes a big production of lifting the silver topper from several plates, naming each dish as he reveals the contents.
Parmesan truffle fries, matchstick fries with sea salt and vinegar, spiral skewer fries with Cajun seasoning, poutine-style fries with brown gravy and fresh Wisconsin cheese curds, and finally a mixture of waffle and crinkle cut fries with gourmet ketchup.
The pompous-looking man wrinkles his nose at the last one, as if it physically pains him to serve such a basic dish. I am completely blown away. I'd mentioned my fry addiction to Gavin before, but I had no idea he listened, or that he would go to such lengths to please me.
Bon appetit,
the chef says with a flourish before discreetly leaving. Gavin and I stuff ourselves with delicious French fries, until I'm certain I'll pop if I eat one more.
"Did I do good?"
Gavin asks. I can tell by his proud expression that he already knows he did, but I still confirm for him. "You did so good." Leaning over, I give him a long, lingering kiss. When I finally pull back, I say, "Earlier you told me that my first surprise was in the kitchen. That implies that there are more surprises."
"You picked up on that, huh?"
He grins at me as I nod my answer. Rubbing his hands together as if he's a bit nervous, he says,
"We've been home for several weeks, and I love being here with you, but I thought it might be nice to go on a quick vacation."
I give him a questioning gaze, because I thought Gavin got tired of traveling constantly on tour and longed for some quality time at his beautiful estate. Granted, he chartered the Sea Dreams for a vacation, but that was more of a work retreat for his band and closest advisors. He's giving me an expectant look, so I say, sure, that sounds fun.
I know we travel a lot, but we spend the majority of our time on the tour bus. Plus, we never really have time to relax and explore our surroundings.
He explains. Understanding the need for a different kind of trip, I say, of course. Where would you like to go?
Well, my cousin Xander recently renovated and opened a small waterfront hotel in Orange Beach, Alabama.
Sounds awesome, I say, already on board with his plan.
And my brother Graham runs a quaint inn in a small town in Illinois called Charming Falls. It won't be a glamorous or luxurious trip, but I'd like to introduce you to my family, the ones who matter anyway. I've already spoken to both Xander and Graham. They would love to see us, and they don't mind if we bring Pringle along. Are you interested in taking a road trip with just me and our dog?
Beyond touched, I say honestly, I would love that. After pressing a quick kiss to his lips, I hop up and say, I'm gonna go pack. We overpack and bring loads of snacks as we set off on our road trip together. When an upbeat song I love comes on the car's radio, I belt it out like I'm on stage. After the song ends, I ask Gavin, why did you and Pringle both look like you were dying while I serenaded you with my bestest, loudest singing voice? Gavin glances away from the road for a moment to give me a lopsided grin before suggesting,
Perhaps you should leave singing to the professionals.
I pretend to be offended when I say, hey? But soon we are both laughing hysterically. The long drive to Alabama is surprisingly fun since Gavin is by my side. I could sit in a car forever as long as he is with me. Xander and Kate make us feel right at home at their lovely beachside hotel. They are both warm and friendly, and they don't treat Gavin like a celebrity. Down here, we're ordinary people visiting family, and it is wonderful. Their little girl, Zoe, is an absolute delight. I catch Gavin grinning down at the precocious child more than once, and it gets the wheels turning in my head. I've never pictured myself as a parent, but being mom to a wonderful child like Zoe would be amazing. We spend a relaxing week at the beach with the trio. The sun, fun, and laughter are good for our souls. I can tell that Gavin is recharged and happy after spending some quality time with his family, and I feel honored to be included. On our final night in Alabama, our cheeks are pink, and we are pleasantly exhausted as we eat pizza for dinner under the stars by the hotel's pool with Xander's family. After we hug and reluctantly say our goodbyes, with promises to return soon, Gavin and I head to our small but functional hotel room. We both shower off the sand and sweat before flopping down onto our bed. Pringle climbs up and sprawls out on her back right between us. Within moments, the worn-out happy dog begins snoring.
She snores almost as loudly as you do.
Gavin teases me as he rests his arm across both the dog and me, creating a loving family embrace. I don't even pretend to be offended that he's picking on my obnoxious snoring, since I already know it's true. Instead, I say, but you love me anyway.
I sure do,
is his sweet reply. After a moment, he adds,
You know, I've always dreamed of sharing a bed with two females, but this isn't at all how I pictured it.
I can't help chuckling at the ridiculous man, until he absolutely blows me away by saying,
This is even better than I imagined. Gavin's calm, quiet brother, Graham, has put everything into the quaint inn he owns in the picturesque small town of Charming Falls, Illinois. When his beautiful inn burns down and arson rumors surface, will his explosive chemistry with firefighter Miranda Wilson burn out before their flame of passion fully ignites? Find out by listening to Illinois Innkeeper.